And I'm real excited today to introduce you to Corliss Wood, who's with Clutter Corrections by Corliss and Exit Right Realty. And we just sort of threw this at a dartboard, Corliss. You just sort of picked this date, and I can't believe how relevant it is with the topic and you being a downsizing and moving expert.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. All the presenters this month have shared priceless information, and I look forward to hearing more about who gets what and how to divide. Hello, my name is Corliss Wood. I'm a professional organizer with Clutter Corrections by Corliss and a realtor with Exit Right Realty, licensed in DC and Maryland. Organizing has been a part of my life all of my life. Where others see chaos, I see a future oasis. Whether at home or at work, I help clients accomplish their organizing challenges. And I do that, for instance, by helping them find things faster, spending less money, gaining control over their surroundings, reducing clutter, pivoting during life's transitions, and improving their quality of life. My clientele are individuals and families who have organizing challenges. Their ages range from children to seniors. A non-judgmental zone is what I practice, while remaining flexible and providing tailored solutions to their unique situations. As you know, we're all different, and everyone is different. A few services that I provide are full home organizing, downsizing, move ins, move outs, packing and unpacking, total estate cleanouts to include estate sales. Real estate, I do residential sales. Although my organizing and real estate businesses are separate, the services work well together. Here's an example. Patricia Dubroff, who is a caregiver liaison, had a client that she was working with. Well, the gentleman passed away, leaving his home empty with no one there. His wife is suffering from dementia and lives in another state. His sons live in California and Texas. So there's nobody here in Maryland. We're at the height of COVID. Nobody's wanting to travel. So I get a call to come in and assess the property and speak with the family. And I told them I would come in and assess the property and let them know what needed to be done. And they also needed a real estate agent. So I went in, I assessed the property, and I presented the family with a plan on how to distribute the contents. They would need to be purged. Some things would need to be purged, donated, disposed of. They wanted items shipped to them that were of sentimental value. Some of those items were a rocking chair that went to the mother, and some military paraphernalia that the sons wanted, along with the wedding rings, just to name a few. I was hired, and it was time for my team to get to work. After several organizing sessions, the property was ready for a good top to bottom cleaning. Then the property was listed. It went under contract in 4 days, and we closed in 31 days. I want to say thank you, Steve, for this opportunity to speak today. Home organizing and home selling made easy by Corliss Wood. Clutter Corrections by Corliss. Rearrange, renew, live well. Steve?
Boy, I'm on mute. Man, that's pretty bad. But before we say goodbye, just to folks, you can see the whole group of women leaders of Elder World on the screen. I added a link so that you can meet them, and we just added this. A week from today, we're doing a networking and noon event on the Remo platform. If you haven't been on that platform, it's absolutely awesome. And we're going to have all the women leaders of Elder World there sitting at the tables, and you can network with each of them individually. So we're really psyched to have you, Corliss, and we will see you next Friday.
Thank you.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, let me move through a few more housekeeping slides and then we will get to David. Just a reminder for those in Northern Virginia, we're working on the Virginia Hospital Center Senior Resource Guide. Great way to get on the Virginia Hospital campus. The new DC Metro Sourcebook is going to be out next week. All this stuff that I've got on the screen, I know you can't make rhyme or reason of it, but there's just so much new, good, relevant COVID-19 related content that we've thrown in. And I'm super, super psyched for you to see the new DC issue of Sourcebook, which will be available soon. And with that, let's bring on David. And David, welcome. All right, we got you there. David, so psyched to have you today. And this is, I'm really excited about the conversation and the questions that this brings up, because it's such a unique topic that's kind of taboo, you know, talking about who gets the property, the challenges that siblings have, you know, sorting through all that mess. But before we dive into that topic, let's get to know you a little bit better. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you founded FairSplit.
Steve, thanks so much for having me on, and I'm excited to you telling me how many people we have visiting. So that's awesome. So this is my, I guess you would call it my fifth startup. I'm a serial entrepreneur, almost as dangerous as a serial killer, but not as bad. The last 20 years, I've been focusing on online services, things that you can do that make no carbon footprint. And I decided to do that for two reasons. I wanted to be home with my young children, and I had been in a business that took me overseas and had me traveling 6 months a year and importing and selling products that probably filled at least one landfill. So some of this is environmental guilt that I started online businesses that would have zero carbon footprint. So, but what I wanted to do in this last company is to really try to come up with something that would positively impact, would be a good legacy. If this is my last startup, I started 11 years ago, I wanted it to be a difference maker. And it's good that I had that, because it took 5 years to get it built, and I was quoted 6 months. So what I did is I thought, what is a good invention? And it's something that helps ease pain or solve a problem. And I looked back at my own life and I thought the two most painful times in my life were losing my father quite young, when I was living overseas and my siblings were living in different states. And part of it was having to deal with, well, how do we figure out who gets what when no one lives anywhere near him? And then the second was a divorce after 14 years of marriage, and having to, it was amicable, but you still had to walk through the house and like figure out who gets what. So I wanted to come up with a platform that took some of the emotional charge out of it, but also created practical solutions to a very challenging process. And the internet and the connectivity that we now all have made that possible. And what's interesting is with COVID, our business is up like 500%. And it's not because of more deaths, it's because of more challenges of how to communicate to the entire family what's available and make decisions. So people are finding us out of necessity. And older people, we have a whole blog on the technology tsunami, that elderly people now who were afraid to ever go online are doing their medical appointments on Zoom. They're doing all sorts of things online that they never did before. So the timing, it's all coming together at a time that I hope for your audience today that we should be a very natural tool in your toolbox. And most of the services that we provide are completely free for you to use. Think of it as using it instead of Google Shared Docs or Excel spreadsheets or emailing attachments back and forth. You just go in, create a free account. If you work with lots of seniors, create 20 free accounts. And then we'll get into how you would use it and what it's for. But mostly it's for ways to list, share, and divide personal property.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hope most people clicked on the video that I'd shared in the invite, but David's going to walk through. But it's really cool. Just so before we dive into FairSplit,
Sure.
just kind of curious about the serial aspect of your entrepreneurship. You don't need to name all the businesses, but if you, out of the 5 companies that you founded, is there a favorite or
You know, I
one
had
that you sort of put on a pedestal?
I would say my biggest claim to shame, if you will, was the, if any of you are over 50, 60 years old, you may remember some of these products. One was called the Revenger. The company was called Express Yourself.
Okay.
And it was a company designed to create fun products to give it as gifts. And we were the top selling item in Bloomingdale's, Macy's, Home Shopping, Harrods in London, and so it was a device that you put on the dash of the car that if you were frustrated in traffic, it had flashing lights and you could hit machine gun, grenade launcher. It was just a pretend frustration relief. We also had, if you've ever seen the little basketball goal that went on the trash can and it cheered when you threw the paper in.
Oh man, no, that's cool. That's cool stuff. And that is, yeah, you talk about guerrilla marketing and sort of lifespan of a product. So you've definitely got some pretty unique experience and stories to tell. And yeah, obviously what you're doing now has a lot more heartfelt impact on the lives of individuals. Not
no
that shooting
millions,
basketball in
and
the office.
no millions of products and styrofoam packaging ending up in landfills.
Yeah. So let's dive into this, and feel free to share your screen. And then I'm going to also say to the audience, if you've got questions or comments, you know, as we kind of go down this journey of sort of understanding what David's offering here, by all means, just either type it into chat, or I'm going to pull up my thing. You can raise your hand if you'd prefer to share your question on video.
So, Steve, as we talked about before, I'm not going to click on the videos. That's something that they're actually very good videos. This one particularly over here on the left, it has my mother-in-law on it with some ideas on how to entice the elderly people, not only to help when you're listing the things in their home while they're downsizing, but to actually videotape them in a little 1-minute story that tells the history of an item. And that way the family also gets the legacy of that. So that's one of those. And then there's the How It Works video. But our slogan is divide things, not families. And that is what we really try to do. Try to keep it about the practical process of dividing fairly and take as much of the emotional challenge out of it. A couple of things to point out. Julie Hall is very famous. She's written several books on downsizing and clearing, not downsizing as much as clearing estates. And her quote was that 80% of the families she's always worked with thought, well, our family won't have a problem. We all get along fine. And that 80% of those families actually do end up having some problems. But I do want to share that I didn't come up with this just for people anticipating problems or siblings that don't speak to each other. I mean, we didn't have any of those problems in my family, but we still had practical challenges of letting everyone take a look at what's available and coming up with a way to figure out who got what. So I really don't think of us as a conflict solution as much as just a practical solution.
Yeah, I mean, what you can see when we go through the demo is how, and this is like a great COVID activity, you know,
it is
taking pictures of everything and taking your time. Like yesterday, I was on a call with JK Moving, and where we had a bunch of senior move managers and moving and downsizing experts. And this was the topic. It was like creating that inventory and planning in advance. What can we do with this? And this is so relevant to the conversation that we just had yesterday.
Well, Steve, you know, we've been partnered with NASM, National Association of Senior Move Managers, for more than 6 years, I think. And many of them do use our services, even when the family doesn't necessarily request it. They just use this as an inventory tool. Now, we're not a floor planning tool. There are other services that do that,
Right.
but we're more, once you've designated what's going to actually move with mom to her new small apartment, you've still got the big house she's lived in her whole life to get rid of. You know, what's going to be sold, what's going to be donated. You know, who cares about any of this and who wants it? So that's our system helps with all that. You can read reviews of people on the site, but so this is our homepage. This is just our homepage. You can go in and look at this account I'm going to show you by just entering test at FairSplit and view now. You can also create your own free account anytime you want and upgrade it if needed. But let me take you to an inside look of what it looks like once you've got an account created on FairSplit. So this is the overview page. This is where we try to let you personalize it a bit for the family. This is a family photo, actually, of my family when I was a little kid. So you can upload any photo you want. You can put a quote here. We often put a quote that no division is perfect, but hopefully perfectly fair if they don't have a quote. Some people I see put Bible verses there, or some silly, funny thing their grandfather used to say. We'll go there. You have a summary of all the various things that have been input. This is also a place where you can put public notes to everyone involved that can see if you want to put a timetable on when we hope to get things done, when we plan to have the estate sale, or when the move is happening. If someone has hired us or hired me as the administrator, this is where they would put personal notes that would help guide me in what their family situation is, that their other family members can't see, but that will help me remember when I'm working with their family, okay, here's the plan, here's what we've agreed we're going to do with the executor. Steve, as you know, usually the executor, and I know a lot of people are doing downsizing, and that's really almost the same process as dividing an estate, because you're having to get rid of 80% of the contents of the home. We do a lot of estate settlements because it throws an executor position into turmoil. They're being assigned a role that they've never had in their whole life. They get very little instruction from the estate planner attorneys. Usually it just says divide everything equally among the kids. And the same sort of dynamics are happening when you're downsizing as well. Usually one of the siblings is taking charge of helping get it done. And everyone has an opinion. All the other siblings have an opinion of how it should be done. So I'm just going to show you how. So in this case, we've already created kind of a downsizing look. This was the main house, we call it. We have properties, rooms, and then division of assets, I mean. And then the new apartment. So the new apartment has 3 rooms, and I haven't listed all of them. I'm going to show you some. Let me go ahead and go in there, because I'm going to show you. You can go into the living room, and let's just take this photo. You can. I mean, this is a painting. Actually, this is a Wyeth watercolor. And if you want to put notes here, you can put signed Wyeth value. You know, you could put any number of notes and click OK. When you click OK, let's see, with the screen up, I'm not seeing my scroll as much, but yeah. Okay, so now at the bottom of the page, let's say you've done this for 20 photos in the room. Mm-hmm. So you just click on the photo and type what you see in the photo. And then you click list an asset for each photo. You confirm that if you change the name of the photo, you want to create a new asset, and there it appears in the grid. So it's that, yeah.
And then, so for that painting, you can really dive into the detail. You can get as detailed or as as vague as you want to be. But the thing that that I saw in your opening screen is you have a financial inventory of the entire house, so you can
Yes.
put an estimate of what this piece of art is worth.
Exactly. So we even have some appraisers nationally that are starting to use our tool. Because if you think about how appraisals normally come to you, it's a big 3-ring binder of page after page after page, or a big PDF that you have to scroll through. Well, I'm going to show you, yeah, as you mentioned. So let's say we entered that Wyeth, but we have a lot more information we want to put about it. Let's say we want to edit fair market value, art, brand, model, description. You can put all sorts of details here. You can click save. The other edit, upload photos or files into the Wyeth. If you want to upload the actual appraisal of the Wyeth, you just upload it straight to the file if you want. So this is what I wanted to show, the flexibility of being able to list things. But Steve, like you mentioned, we do have a grid layout, much like an Excel spreadsheet. And the better description, if you're working with a family on doing this, the thing I would say before you just jump in and start taking inventory, think about how you would want to select items if you were one of those kids. How would you want to, would you want to get a big box of kitchen things, or like all the frying pans from the kitchen? Or do you really need 8 more frying pans? So like the kitchen's an easy example. We tell people, look, why don't you arrange like 8 or 10 groupings of kitchen things that actually are useful?
Yeah.
If mom's only going to move with 2 boiling pots, 2 frying pans, and 5 dishes to her new apartment, put things into groupings the way your siblings or you would want to win them. I had guys are especially bad at this. If the executor is the older brother, if he bothers to do it at all, I was laughing with one. I said, "Oh my gosh, you put 8 measuring cups in a box and said, who wants this?" Well, who needs 8 more measuring cups, right? So you would want to put 2 measuring cups, a mixing bowl, a frying pan, put some practical things and do a group shot of that. Put it in a paper bag and call it kitchen group A.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes kitchen group A, two frying pans, and you put that detail here. Things like walnut nightstands, of course, that's a set of 2. You don't list it as 2 separate nightstands because you would want to get them together. Just kind of practical things of how you would want to win that. And then also know that in our system of yes or no, are you interested, and our ways of dividing, ideally, you don't want the person to have to click on the photo to know that this is this bureau dresser, that this, you want them hopefully to be able to look at the assets and see that chest, dark wood bureau, and know what it is without having to click on the photo. Okay. Once things are in our system, though, I'm going to jump around a little bit and show you the practically. Once it's in our system, you can go to reports, and you can click on any of these reports. But we're going to do web page because that's the one that you can actually choose to show images. And it will create a report that shows all the items with the images. This report is now getting used quite often. You would sort this report by sell or donate, right? So this report can be used as the estate sale document at the exit at the estate sale. You can put your pricing on it. You can have it available. So you can literally scroll down and be sure that you are pricing, this wooden bench this is what's going out the door. This is what it's sold for. We have it valued at $150. Net proceeds $125. So you've got lots of tools to help you through the whole process of getting through this. And the reports are really nice on that. But let me go back to properties and assets. Steve, I know you and I were talking about just how much more convenient it is to have an online format, because look at some of the things you can do. You can, well, first of all, you got main house, but let's go into the master bedroom. And then let's only look at art and collectibles in the master bedroom. Well, there's only the one, but you can sort by, so keep, we designated keep to know what is going to go to the new apartment.
So that would be a situation where somebody's downsizing.
Yes,
and they're going
this
to keep that.
particular example is downsizing, and you can see we have now, here's what's cool too, is you can, once you've decided this is definitely going to be kept there, you can move things, you can highlight all these items and move them to the new apartment if you want.
Which is great for a move, so that, let's say mom's moving to a community and these things are moving to her new apartment, but then let's say the kids have gone through their list. Now you could also have other locations, son's home, daughter's home, storage unit, and now you're saving money on your move because you're able to hand that sheet to the mover to create that estimate. These are the items.
Let me show you. So here, let's say here's like 3 things. Let's say, okay, we now know something about these 3 things. This pops up. We want to distribute these to mom's new bedroom, sell or donate, storage. You can also create, let me close this and show you, you can create distribution destinations. You can create your own names. If you want to say new home, Austin, Texas, if you want to say, Sarah's house, anything that this is your tool to use. Okay. So the value of having it this way is you can have multiple team members. Let's say you have an organizing company or a move management company. You can have multiple accounts all under your login. And actually, you can have other people. Yes.
This is a really good point. A question that came in from Loretta Williams, who asked, who provides the values for the items? So, I'm assuming, like, let's say that I'm the adult daughter who is responsible for this. As we know, it's mainly the adult daughter, and she could just do this all on her own. She could just, use Google and try to come up with pricing if that's something that the family wants to do. But what you addressed is you could give access to, somebody like Daniel Sanders of For Sales, who's like an auction house, and he could go in and add in the exact values, or as close to.
If there was I was going to say, if there's such a thing as exact, but yeah. So most of the families we work with, I'd say well over half of them don't put any values in. They're not really concerned about the values so much. Or if they do put values in, they put them in for the top 10 or 12 items that have significant value.
That's good.
Sometimes, but we do get asked, we definitely do get discovered by families with potential conflict and that are a little more contentious in nature. Quite often they will hire us to put the values. And again, we tell them it's not a praised value. This is a photo visual, take a look and see what we think it sells for in estate sales. Now the ladies we have that do this own estate sales company, and they pull up 2 screens behind them. They'll pull up eBay or Craigslist to see what things have been selling for. And we can do, for about $1.50, $2 an item, we can usually put a ballpark value.
Oh, so that's an add-on feature that you
yes, I'll show you
too. Okay, great.
And I'll show, we can do, like, if you go into pricing, you can go into other services. You can see all of our pricing there, but with the other services, we talk here about the different things that we can do. Independent third-party administrator. That's happening actually on more than half of the ones now. They'll hire us to be the independent administrator.
Okay.
We can list the photos, and we even do this working with some of our senior move managers. Some of them like to do all the listing, but some of them know, like, we're 3-4 times as fast sometimes at listing. So they'll very carefully take the photos one by one of each item that needs to be we recommend do 3 or 4 photos of each room, just stand in the middle and just take pictures of the room so that layout is preserved. But then just go click, 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 just go item by item by item throughout the room and upload them. If they want to hire our team to do it, we can list them for less than $1 a piece. We charge $75 an hour. But a lot of the move managers do it themselves. It's just another added revenue place.
It's whatever preference. I want to because I want to dive into this because I think it's a pretty cool feature of your platform, and you sort of alluded to it, and you referred to family members bidding on items. Um, Show us that, because I think
Okay,
this is really clever,
thank you.
and as I'm saying this, it's sort of like you know, it's funny how much meaning this item has to me. But when I was at when I was a little kid and staying at my grandparents' house, there was that picture of, the one with the dogs playing the cards, playing
Oh, yeah,
poker.
yeah, yeah.
I was just so fascinated with that photo as a little kid, and had had my family sort of done an inventory like this, and I guess when my grandparents passed away, I was in college. Holy cow, the bid that I would have put on that specific item, because it was just so close to my heart, would have been amazing. But show us
I mean, I'm
this. I
glad
think the
I'm glad you
audience is
mentioned
gonna
that,
really
Steve, because usually those were very cheaply reproduced prints. I had one in college over the fireplace in the little cabin I lived in.
yeah, and it doesn't.
The exact photo you're talking about was
Oh
there, not
no.
photo, but print. And you're right. And I think we talked previously. The wealthiest family I've worked with to date, you would actually know that it's an East Coast family, very old money, and all the kids worth hundreds of millions of dollars. There were 8 of them. It was a huge estate, over 3,500 items. The most contentious item in the division was an old wooden rolling pin. And the grandmother had taught the daughters how to bake pies with that rolling pin. And those are things to keep in mind. And they're things that often, when you're listing things, they just get kind of discarded, and not even, and people get upset. Like, what you already gave that away? Like, you really want to create family conflict, get rid of stuff before you've asked the family what they're wanting.
Yeah. No, my aunt got that picture, and
Yeah.
the good thing is I can see it when I go to her house, and I always go downstairs and take a peek at it. But it really this whole process is really unusual. I mean, it really is. And I see that how a platform like yours can, there's so much in it. You can see where it can simplify this, but show the folks.
Well, I was going to show,
I
yes.
mean,
So inviting a participant, we have different permission levels, and attorneys have really liked this. I mean, if they want their attorney to have access to be able to log in and look, they can go in and invite an observer. They can invite an asset lister. Well, an asset lister can go in and help actually list all the items. So if you're the executor, or you've been charged with doing this, let's say you're working with the family and they don't want to pay you as the senior move manager to list everything, but they know it needs to be done. If you upload all the photos and invite them to come in, they can list everything themselves. They can invite their sister, their brother, say, hey, how about you do the living room, dining room? I'll do all the bedrooms and the garage, and split the duties, because the executor is overwhelmed. Administrator, some of these roles, devisee is a new term we made up, which is the heir, but it's also in a divorce. So we created this term called a devisee. If the package has been upgraded to allow divisions, and that's what I think we want to talk about, Steve, is what are our divisions and what do they look like, the process. Now, as you know, any family, if you've got all this already in the system, you're way ahead of the game. I mean, we have a lot of families, and I welcome them doing it. Sometimes they'll call me and ask me questions, and they go, well, what are you charging? I go, we built this to help people. If you can use it for free, use it for free. So we do have families that only have maybe 100, 200 things to divide, that will get online, they'll print out the sheets, they'll get on the phone, they'll take turns choosing, they'll come up with their own system and use our process to divide their items. So they are able to do that. But for us, let me click on rounds and show you what it would be. We basically have 3 rounds. If all the contents of the home were set up, and then you came up, okay, these are all the things available that need to be shipped to the kids or sold or donated, but So the first round is called asset review, and I'm going to click on this. I'm not going to click on the video, but I'll just tell you what it is. It's basically a yes/no round. It's click yes or no next to each item. Do you have any interest in this item to later be awarded? Okay. So all the items that no one says yes to, which in a house with 1,000 items listed, which would be pretty big. I mean, our average is probably 500. We've gone 3,500. If there's 1,000 items, there's usually 500 that nobody wants. You know, most people don't have room for more furniture. They don't have room for more junk, which is considered a lot of it. So you're able to whittle down quite quickly. It's a very time-saving tool to have that yes/no. The other thing the yes/no round does is we tell them, look, if you see things that aren't listed correctly, if you think it should be those 2 chairs or a pair of chairs and they're listed separately, or if you see something duplicated, maybe the photo got taken twice from 2 different angles, and you know, in the quick process of listing, it's accidentally listed twice. So this is where everyone in the family helps identify any issues, in addition to interest or no interest. The next is the emotional value bidding. Now, this is a new concept for us. It's part of our patent that we have on this whole process. We found that usually there's just a few items that create the biggest conflict in a family,
Yeah.
that have charged emotion to it. And especially if there's 4 or 5 kids that go, well, I mean, I could just get unlucky and I draw straws and somebody else takes it, but they didn't really want it as much as me. They just happened to have it high on their list. So we came up with this emotional value bidding. And I'd say about 3/4 of the families use this round, and some just skip to, the next round. The emotional value round, I call it Dad's ukulele round. Who wants it the most? Each of the kids get about 500 points is what I usually use if I'm setting it up. And I usually limit it, if it's 5 kids, I'll limit it to no more than 7 or 8 items. If it's 3 kids, I'll limit it to 5 items. That they can put points on up to 5 items. They can put all the points on the picture of the dogs over the card table. If there's nothing that you want more than that, it would make sense for you to put 500 points on that. Someone else might put 495 and put 1 point on 4 other items, or 496 and 1 point on 4 other items, because if nobody else puts another 1 point on it, then they're going to win those, and they're going to think, okay, I'm going to cover my chances here. I'm going to bid on some other things. So we've actually had families describe this as kind of fun.
No, and you know what I like about it is it makes things more transparent, and as opposed to your brother gets this and then you're not having a conversation. With this transparency, what you can see is that, like, if your brother bid 300 and you bid 350, you could see where now you would probably call each other up and say, wow, I didn't realize that meant as much to you as it meant to me. This is really interesting.
Yeah, it can be awesome.
Yeah, I love this idea.
Thank you. Yeah, and it is silent bidding. You can't see what you're not really bidding against your siblings. It's possible that you put all 500 of your points on that painting, and nobody else even bid on it. Right. They all thought, who wants that horrible thing, right? But you're all happy, because hopefully what happens in this round is everyone gets the thing that was nearest and dearest to them. Now, if there's a tie, if you and your brother both always wanted that painting, you both put 500 points on it, then it is basically a computerized coin flip. It's just a random. And so you at least know, hey, I may not have gotten it, but it was fair.
Right.
The system
gave
it. Yeah. Somebody had to get it, right? So this is how most of the things are divided, is the selection order bidding. And if anyone visiting here have played, or their husband plays, or anyone plays fantasy sports draft, my son is big in that and helped me kind of design this system to be similar. So it's basically all the items that anyone selected yes to can go into this round. And depending on, we don't usually put more than 100, 150 items into each round. So if there's still 500 left, you'd have probably 3 to 4 rounds of this to get through. And if anyone said yes to it, it could be on the list. So it's going to show up, and again, you can watch the video. It's very short to see how it works, but there's going to be two columns. There's going to be listed items on the left, and anything that you have interest in, you slide it over to the right column. And then you arrange it in your top to bottom preference, your top choice to your bottom choice. And then the software basically goes, if you use our default system versus maybe the will says something else, you have to choose another one. But we call it the snake awarding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it just takes the top item remaining on each person's list. And it does it instantly at the end of the round, and all the awards show up. So it has proven to be what's now been, we've been around 11 years. We've been live 6 years helping families. And it's proven to be very, very efficient and effective. And the families rave about it.
Yeah, it's kind of a combination fantasy football and dating app. It's no, that's great. Hey, David, let me address a few questions that have come in, and also remind folks that you can type in your questions. But Mary Motor, who's with an elder law attorney practice, Bird, she says, great ideas. Do you also suggest that your clients put this in legal documentation to help the facilitator executor, so the client definitely knows items go to whom they choose? We know family can and do still fight, so don't you think this would help?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, Steve, I sent you a copy, and we'll have it posted November 1st. Some of you may, your elder law attorney may subscribe to Trusts and Estates magazine, and they just had me author a 6-page article on this exact topic. And it'll be available on our website November 1st. But if you already received Trusts and Estates magazine, it's the September issue. And it was a very in-depth article that also talked about, featured, and Steve, it's how we met, actually. You saw a survey that we did of heirs, and we can talk about that in a bit. But yes, the answer is, in the letter of instruction that accompanies many estate plans and wills, or certainly the estate plans, we think that's the place to put it, is in the letter of instruction. And we talk a lot about the more, not minutia detail, because that can complicate actually doing it according to the will or the estate. But the letter of instruction is not as much legally binding as it is my wishes, right? So it's a great place to put. We actually tell attorneys, don't put must use FairSplit.com. That complicates things. I mean, I plan to be here, but if the person doesn't pass for 10 years and the company's been renamed or bought, or or if you don't want to put problematic language, but you can put may want to use an online service like FairSplit.com to do this. And in that same letter of instruction, Steve, this is where we tell people, look, please don't just give the executor this instruction. Divide everything else equally among the kids. Mm-hmm. This is a very time-consuming part of estate settlement, and it's often the part that the least thought and money is put into actually helping get the family ready for this part. Dividing the securities, the real estate and all that, that's pretty much a no-brainer. I mean, but when this part comes around, there are lots of questions. Who is going to pay for shipping, packing and shipping? Is it going to come out of estate proceeds, or does the person choosing it have to pay for their own packing and shipping? Why does it matter? Very few families all live near one another now. So if some of the siblings live out of state, do you really want to pay to ship a triple dresser to Connecticut from California? It's going to cost 4 times the value of the dresser to do it. So these are things that the executor is left with this challenge of, well, my siblings think I'm not being fair. Why is it their fault that they don't live near mom and dad? I just never left home. I'm a hermit. The blame game can surface between kids if the parents don't leave some instruction of what their wishes would be. Do they want it to start oldest to youngest, or is random okay? How do they want the value of things treated? Do they want everything to have no value, or do they want things appraised or valued if it's worth over 500? These are all things that if you leave it just to the kids or the executor, it's too much pressure.
No, and this really makes it easy. Mary Williams asks, I assume contents and values are stored in the cloud. What types of security, if any, is afforded for the data and the accounts?
So we tell people there is no reason to enter any critical personal information in our system. It's not required. There's no reason to put it. But to that question, though, we are hosted with Amazon Web Services on their highest level of security. We also are SSL on the website itself. But the information is actually stored on multiple servers. It's not. It couldn't even be hacked and found in one place, is the way Amazon does it. And that's one of the reasons we host with Amazon Web Services.
That's great. And we did a whole webinar on creating passwords and all that stuff. I mean, it's not necessarily the cloud that's potentially the problem. It's that your password is password, you know. And Daniel Sanders asks, did I hear correctly that FairSplit has a patent on the bidding algorithm?
Yes, we have a software patent, which are rare and hard to get in online things now. But yes, we did have a patent issued on our whole process of doing this online. Yeah.
Mary Williams also, I just glanced over at chat, and there's some really good comments in chat. It's hard for me to manage that, but her thought, Mary, my thought exactly too. So useful for insurance and household contents estimates. In the event of fire, flood, or other natural disaster, this inventory could be invaluable. And that's, you know, one of the topics of the JK Moving event that we did yesterday is planning in advance. Nobody wants to do it. In the senior living world, we are so used to dealing with crisis situations. And you can see where a platform like this can be a fun family activity where, hey guys, let's go room to room and, you know, just do this inventory. And
I'm really
be doing this in your 20s and 30s. And in the event that there's an issue in your life, accident, divorce, what have you, boom, it's all right there.
Well, Steve, I'm glad this came up. We used to have an app called List Stuff Fast, and we did it because the Insurance Institute had one called Know Your Stuff. And it wasn't very good. And we thought, well, we can do better than that. We'll have it feed. It turns out nobody used it. And I knew people high up in the insurance industry, and they had been offering it for years, pushing it through all the major insurance companies, and no one used it. Not even in hurricane fire zones, nobody did it.
And you know, there's not much that's going to get people off the mark. However, I feel this COVID-19 and people being at home, you know, we're seeing more home remodeling projects. We're seeing people organizing their homes. You can see where some of this, and we're seeing elder care, people living through some severe elder care challenges. You can see where things might shift, where people
I agree
to do that. Hey,
well, let me just share quickly what, like this video on the bottom left here, family legacy video. I actually think I saw in your big screenshot that you said you can't tell what's going on there. Did I see Matt Paxton legacy work?
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
So Matt's one of my good friends. He's on our board of advisors. He's love Matt, and so one of the things that we talked about is preserving the legacy of things. And we were talking about how my own grandmother, who I love so dearly, I cannot recall her voice. I have photos of her. I have videos. I can't remember her sweet, wonderful voice that comforted me as a kid. So this little video shows my mother-in-law, who's also sweet and wonderful. And it's about a 2-minute video. And it talks about how not only taking a quick inventory of the house and her place, but getting her to tell one story about one item. And it's so cute and sweet, and it's such an easy thing to do. This is part of when we talked at NASM at the Senior Move Management Conference, we talked about not only when you're planning mom's move, think about who you're moving and why. They're moving into a small place. They've just given up all of their things. Maybe they've lived in the same house for 50 years, and now they're in this small apartment, and they start to think that the nurses are stealing from them. that where's that Rolex they moved? Where's that painting? It was always
Wow.
where they don't, yeah, they don't remember because their whole life has just been disrupted and they've got a bit of dementia starting too. A great service you can do is once you move the mom into her new place, do a quick photo inventory, invite the oldest daughter or the kids, you just invite them. It's their free place they can go. And imagine this, a year from now, mom's telling the daughter, I think that nurse is stealing from me. And mom can log in and go, Mom, Mom, listen, I'm looking at it. You did not move that. Remember that went to Susan. You can talk her through it. When she passes away, those assisted living, those nursing homes usually have a 2-week to 30 days that you've got to clear that out. Well, now imagine if I can log in and I can log in and look and say, hey, could you ship these 4 things to my sister and these 5 to me and donate the rest? And you don't even have to go. You don't even have to go deal with it. You can hire the
Love it.
move manager or the organizer to go do it.
Hey, David, we're getting close to the end of the hour here. And I always like to say that with 5 minutes to spare, because that's when additional comments come in. But before I want to get to this survey that you did, and I actually have the chart on my screen. If you want
perfect.
me. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. I might have to.
Do you want me to stop share?
Oh, no, I got it here. Okay.
Okay.
So I got the chart on the screen. This is from the article that nobody's supposed to see until November 1st. So getting a sneak preview here today. But tell us a little bit about this survey, because I thought the results were pretty interesting.
Well, many years ago when we were building this, we really wanted everyone, we said, what are the things that happen is that everyone needs to feel included in a process. They need to feel heard. They're all going through a painful process. And we had a family therapist who deals with loss, help us come up with these questions and how to word them. And it's not scientific, and we don't ask it 4 different ways to make sure they're being honest. So we know it's not perfect, but it's consistent. It comes through pretty darn consistently that the majority of things have some, there's at least, most of the time, there's at least some things that are emotionally valuable to people. So they don't want everything just cleared out before they get a chance to have some input. The other thing, I trust the other parties in the process. Well, it's mostly I trust them, but it's not, when it says it's 22% that I strongly agree, that everybody's out for everybody to get good results.
That's pretty scary.
Yeah, they don't get to see who voted what or who said what, so they can be honest. And it's important for me to get my share of the market value. Well, this speaks to, well, what about if nothing's valued? Some people are going to feel like, well, no, we should have had ballpark values put on things, and I should have gotten my share, because I would have been fine to sell everything and just get cash. And families get upset. Well, if they've got a brother that says, I don't want anything, just, whatever you guys sell to give me my check and I don't care. Well, then some of the siblings might start judging that brother and say, well, he just doesn't care. He's awful. Like he didn't even love, Well, it's not necessarily true. He could very well just think my best way of dealing with this grief is I don't want things that remind me. And then you've got the sister who can't let go of anything. She wants everything because it's disrespectful to mom, to anything she's touched is now sacred.
Yeah.
So they're working through lots of things. However, the process is used, I agree to abide by. Even that, now this is a survey they do before they use FairSplit, Steve. So it's this is just their initial, like, well, I don't know if I'm going to go with this or not. We've never had it be a problem. They do end up seeing that it's blind, it's fair. If they talk to their attorneys, the attorney's going to go, look, the judge is going to say, use a system like this or sell everything and divide it. You can spend a lot of money doing it another way. But at the end of the day, if people can't resolve things, they just say have an estate sale and write checks to everybody.
Right.
And that rarely happens.
Yeah, really this survey, and I've never seen these questions being asked anywhere, but it really speaks to, again, transparency, communication, talking about these things before a crisis happens, or before, so many times this is, mom has a game plan in the back of her mind where all of her stuff is going to go. And if she's around to see that happen, usually she gets people get upset, and you can see by the result of the survey. And what FairSplit does is it sort of, I know it's a technical term, but it gamifies this process and makes it fun, and it creates conversation as well, and it preserves legacy. Like, again, like, just, I think about this. It's sort of like every now and then I go back and I look at the real estate listing of the townhouse my wife and I moved out of back in 2004. I just go back, and it's a memory. I remember what that meant, and things like that. And once you put these items in FairSplit, generations to come, you can tell stories about this item that your grandmother had, and I love it.
And we switched to having it free, Steve, about 2.5 years ago, to having all this part free, because first of all, our hosting costs with Amazon went down 95% over the last 11 years.
Okay.
And we resize photos. So bottom line, instead of it costing us $5 a year to store the accounts, it's 25 cents a year or something.
Well,
and people, yeah.
Oh no, I'm glad you're bringing this up, because Elva Roy just typed in, how does FairSplit earn money? What is the pricing? So maybe kind of just walk through that, because I want to make sure that that's addressed before.
Yeah, let me go back to this. So you go to pricing, and let's just go for a state division, because that's what we do the most of. And our chart shows.
Well, but wait, before you throw up, when people are going to be, they see the 173, it's all free. Like I can go in.
Yes. Everything that you've seen, everything that I've actually shown. So anything other than the division rounds, the yes, no, the points, if we're valuing the items for them, if we're listing the items for them, if they hire me as administrator or mediator, that's how we make our money.
So the beauty of your model. If you're using it as a tool to list, share, upload photos, get other family members logged in, create reports, that's all free. And Steve, we did that because people were using Google Shared Docs, they were using Dropbox for photos, they were cobbling together kind of a hodgepodge of ways to communicate all this information that was not designed for estates. Yep.
And so, and Google does theirs free, and Dropbox does their small accounts free. So we thought, why not? We did this to help people. So we made it free, and it's made a giant difference. Yeah.
Yeah. And sort of to draw an analogy of your model, it's kind of like ancestry.com, which is synonymous with sort of some of this, is where you can open up a free account. You can use a bunch of tools. The more tools that you're using on this platform, more than likely, the more that you're going to jump in and buy some of these add-ons, which is where where your revenue is generated and enables you to sustain this. So now that we know that it's free, walk us through what are the paid elements.
Yeah, so it's still, when I show at the Heckerling Institute trade show, people say, well, you shouldn't show your pricing because people are going to think it's not very good. You still don't charge very much. And they're right. I mean, we do some huge multi-million-dollar estates, and you can see our fee is $689 for a giant estate with 2,500 items and up to 99 heirs and all this. The difference is on those bigger estates, those estates, the estate can pay us. It comes out of the estate fees. And when they look at the cost of having us list everything, have us value, have me mediate, we have probate attorney law firms that now just hire us for every job because they say, look, this is the worst part of what we do. You guys are good at it. You're half the price we would be to even talk about it with the family. And so an average big estate like this, our revenue might average $3,000 or $4,000 by the time we do all of our fees. these smaller ones, you know, it can run anywhere from 400 to 600 average. But we have, that's because we have a lot of people who do hire us, but a lot of families just do the 179.95. They list everything themselves. They do the whole process, and we never even hear from them. I mean, they just sign up, use the tools, and that works too. And we're very happy that.
Okay, great. No, I think that's a really fair model. And again, it's sort of, you can get in there and start playing around with it before you got to put your credit card in the system and
Absolutely
go down
yeah.
that road. One of the attendees asked, how long do the accounts last? Like, so.
So we have not come up with what the fair right program is. At this point, we've never deleted anybody.
Okay.
Some of the accounts are over 6 years old, and we keep the data up. It hasn't really, it's so inexpensive now for us to hold the data. We tell people, we tell lawyers, especially if they're concerned about, you know, the long-term preservation of it, go to reports and print reports, you know, save reports of everything that you think is critical. Yep. To a hard drive or to a thumb drive. We think we probably will have, because we do have people doing the inventories. I mean, for example, I can do a 3-bedroom house locally. I'll go sometimes just to be sure that the process works. And I can do a 3-bedroom house. I can photograph it and be in and out of there usually in an hour and a half. So like you said, during COVID, with families visiting Thanksgiving, Christmas, if they do take that opportunity to visit, you know, a college-aged high school kid could go through and photograph everything, upload it to FairSplit, and have that part done. Mm-hmm. And it would be super helpful. But it's not that time consuming. That listing the things, but if you think about it, even if there's 500 items, if you hired us to do it, it's 75 cents to $1 an item. For $400, you get everything completely listed and categorized and
that's another question Amy O'Donnell came in with is, do you offer services a la carte, i.e. valuations?
Yes. So this is that other services tab that I pulled up earlier, where we talk about, we're basically $75 an hour, and we give what that generally amounts to, somewhere around $1.50, $2 to value things, and about 75 cents to $1 to list things. So if they want us to list and value, it's about $2.50 an item. And it depends. If it's a lot of very nice things, there's more research we're doing. So it might run $2 an item. If we tell people we don't want to charge you $2 to tell you that glass ashtray is worth $1. So we're going to eyeball things that should be eyeballed.
Great. Wow. Well, we've got through this. This was fantastic. And the comments
Thanks,
are,
Steve.
You're going to love to see the chat comments about this, David. It really validates all the many years of research and work you did to get to this point. But I'll share everything with the audience, share the recording so you can share this with your loved ones and what have you. But in closing, I've held on to this question. If you don't mind going back, one of the attendees says, we love old photographs and pictures. Could you ask him to review the lineage of his family picture? What a great picture. And tell us who's in the photo and where it was located.
Absolutely.
That's a pretty cool question.
That's a very sweet question. So this was my paternal grandfather, my paternal grandmother, that I can't remember how her voice sounds, but I so wish I could. These are my aunts, 2 of my aunts, my dad's brother. And this is my mother. That's me in her lap on the left, and my cousin, my 2 cousins. So it's not our full family, but it was one of the best photos I found to put up there.
That's great. And
that's
you're on the West Coast, so it's morning out there where you're at, correct?
Yeah, right.
Excellent. David, this has been awesome, and really look forward to a continuing relationship with you and our community of providers and families. I will follow up, and we'll make sure to add a link to our emails on November 1st for everybody when the article is out of embargo.
Okay, sounds good. Steve, thank you so much, and thanks to everyone for your interest.
You bet. Talk to you.